can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year.
All right, everybody, welcome to Impact to Influence. I'm your host, Nick Karolakis. Happy New Year, everybody. And with New Year's upon us, we have New Year's resolutions, new goals. This man has been voted #1 transformation expert in the world, not once, but twice, over 150 million users in transformations, best-selling author, founder of the DTP method. He also used to be the director-in-chief of bodybuilding.com and just so happens to run Kaged Muscle. Well, now Kaged after the rebrand. The one, the only, the infamous Kris Gethin. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time.
Wow, that is some introduction. I'm expecting a massive applause after that, brother. Jeez.
I mean, you know, you do it after a while and you get good at one or two things, but introduction.
Yeah, you got that nailed. Well, thank you very much for having me on, Nick. It's been a couple of years, well, a few years, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's about time that we got back on and had a bit of a chin wag.
I know. So I actually put up a podcast the other day for New Year's resolutions. I said, you know, the New Year's here and so is your half-ass resolutions. I find a lot of people put out their goals and even write them down, for instance, but they have a lot of trouble being accountable for themselves, following through. And you being essentially the expert on experts of transformations, and let's call it New Year's resolutions transformations, I really wanted to pick your brain on what, one, do you do and provide to your audience that makes them stay accountable, that makes them want to finish, that makes them want to follow through, just from a physical standpoint. We can get into the mental stuff as we dive in, but you being who you are and the expert you are in your field, I really want to pick your brain on that.
Okay, well, it's always an uphill struggle, you know, because like you see the search terms, you see the gyms, you see the engagement fall down like halfway through February. It just happens. So you're doing whatever you can to make sure that everybody is engaged for the long-term goal in January. Because I think everybody has short-term goals and that is it. They don't have the foresight to think any further. Mm-hmm. And they all have best expectations. They think of success, not even considering the sacrifice. And the sacrifice has to come first because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. So from a physical standpoint, I just get people to focus on discipline to begin with, like getting to bed early, make sure that you have your cold shower, that you eat on time. I don't give a shit about the diet at the beginning. I don't give a shit about your training program. I just want you to have structure. Once you've got that structure and the discipline to do this 7 days a week, not 5 days a week, then we can add to that. So that's what I usually look at. I look at the free stuff. Well, meditate, go to bed early, make sure that you drink a gallon jug of water. You can do that shit. Let's start there. Once we do, then we start adding more to the recipe.
Yeah. And I think it, like I said this on another podcast a couple months ago, I think it's, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's, let's call it a couple weeks to create a habit. And then it's a couple months to create a lifestyle. And I think that is what a lot of people kind of forget, or they not go down the wrong path, but they seemingly just don't understand. And that is, you shouldn't be doing this. And this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. You shouldn't be doing this just to lose weight. I think having a lifestyle change, totally. I'm not saying everyone needs to get shredded and be a bodybuilder, but I think everyone forgets to put their health first because they are kind of distracted by the everyday things that are very hard to overcome, whether it's work, family issues, whether it's whatever it may be. Your health comes first, and you don't have your health, then you don't have anything, to be honest. So I think just having that headset helps a lot. But like you said, I think starting with the low hanging fruit, the easy stuff, try drinking a gallon of water a day, go for a 40-minute walk, take a cold shower, do an ice plunge, whatever it is. Start small and start creating those good habits so that when the days do come that, oh crap, I gotta go, I really don't feel like getting up, you get up anyway, because you have that kind of inner self-discipline, self-clock that kind of gets you up and at it for the day. But that, again, that's just me.
Yeah, like when yesterday, obviously it was New Year's Day yesterday, New Year's Eve, I was in bed at 8 o'clock or 8:30. I
was in bed by 9. Yeah,
exactly, which is late for me. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to be like that. They don't have to be so militant. But I tell you what, waking up so early the next day felt so good. We went and did the polar ice plunge, which was in a lake here. There's several hundred people. It just felt so good starting a new year with a fresh cognitive function and feeling vibrant, you know, and energized, as opposed to dealing with a hangover and abusing yourself. Okay, you do that in your teenage years maybe, but you have to grow out of it. And as you said, it's nothing to do with your pecs, your delts, your biceps. You get into it because you love the discipline, you love the training, you love increasing your health span, you love having the cognitive function that you're not going to get if you're eating shit, inflammatory foods. You know, it's funny when a lot of my clients, when they clean up their diets, they're like, oh, wow, this joint pain that I had in my elbows, in my knees, I thought it's just from years of training, if they come from a training background, but now it's gone, it's dissipated, because a lot of them have just come from an inflammatory nutritional lifestyle, which is the typical American diet.
I was going to say,
it's just processed. We've got vegetable oils, we've got sugars, so many starches, you know, and they're just constantly inflamed. And then they're like, okay, now I can think clearly. I'm not umming and ahhing. Yeah, exactly. It's like being in a bad relationship with someone, except you're in that bad relationship with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You need to make that clean break and find the real you.
Yeah, and I think, listen, I've struggled with it in the past. My biggest struggle is the sleep aspect, because I just, the one thing I wish was there was more hours in a day that I could get more done, and I could do more episodes. I could stay longer at the office. I can get there earlier. I could train longer. And I get anywhere from 5 to 6 hours a day. One of my goals this year is to get 8 minimum a day. Because if I can't, get my rest in every day and be there from a mental standpoint, that means that my decision making, my schedule will be off from Jump Street when I wake up. And I just won't be mentally as sharp as I need to be, let alone recover as much as I should. So, but that's me. And I think a lot of people have a hard time finding the starting point. For me, I already know my starting point. I've been, throwing shit against the wall long enough to where I'm like, all right, that doesn't work. This can do this, this can do that. But I think a lot of people, the general population, have a very hard time finding, okay, I want to lose weight. Where do I start? Or I want to do whatever I got to do. Where do I start? In your experience, when you start off with a client, what's really, besides finding, you're eating too many processed foods, you're eating too many inflammatory foods, what else can you give them, or from a support standpoint, that can kind of get them going? Because I know, I have parents, I have a sister, I have a beautiful young nephew now. What can, Jim down the road do to really kickstart his New Year process to shed that 25 pounds?
Well, let's use you as an example to begin with, because you mentioned about your sleep. So let's say if you're only having 5 hours sleep, your cortisol levels are going to be a little higher than they should be. So now you've got systemic stress. We know systemic stress can lead to heart disease and a lot of other complications, a compromised immune system. Okay. And as you so rightly mentioned, if you're not recovering, you're not going to perform. You can't recover 90% and expect to perform 100%. You're going to perform much less than that. So this is what I do with some of my clients. I'm like, go out and get a sleep tracker. So I wear an Oura ring. Some people wear a Whoop, a Garmin, whatever. I don't care what it is. I prefer the Oura ring because you can put it on airplane mode. It doesn't have to be penetrating you with Bluetooth 24/7. And then start a group with other people, because I guarantee you, someone's got an Apple Watch, someone's got a Garmin. And then, I'm part of several sleep hackers groups. One of my clients is actually a part of one of them, because he has a terrible time sleeping, going to bed at 2 a.m. and whatnot. So when you have that accountability, it's like wearing a personal trainer on your finger the whole time. It's like, shit, I better get to bed early, because I have to put my sincerity on the line in the morning when I share that group. And when you do so, as you know, if your cortisol levels start to come down, all of a sudden you're able to burn fat easier. You're able to build muscle a lot easier. Quite often, if I have a plateau with a client, and that plateau could be, look, I'm 12%, I just cannot get under 10. I look at their sleep. I'm like, let's bring that sleep back. Instead of going to bed at midnight, let's try going to bed at 9 o'clock. And then 9 times out of 10, if not 9.9 times out of 10, they break that plateau. Obviously everybody has different chronotypes, but most of the people, as soon as they go to bed early, because you think about it, you're up late now, you're exposed to artificial light. Chances are you're not wearing blue light blocking glasses. then you just got this, you've got this cortisol effect. Your melatonin is not able to release. It's dopamine, cortisol, which is not allowing your oxytocin to release. You can't be in that sympathetic or parasympathetic state where you're in a rest and digest. Instead, you're in fight or flight. So I'd say that's going to be the main thing. There's so much that we can do to quantify today with so many wearables. I'm not saying your life should be controlled by it, but if you are out of control with some aspect, then use that to put you in control.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, you know, I remember, I would say you're the first person that at least I saw, or at least I paid attention to, that really brought to the forefront all the biohacking hacks that you would give, whether it's the blue light glasses, the Aura Ring, whether it be the cold plunges, whatever it may be. Like for instance, I put I forgot what the little gold strips on the Bluetooth headphones are that block the radiation. I have the little gold sticker you told me to put on it.
Yeah,
back in
that's cool. Yeah.
So I still use those things. And I think those things can go a very long way. But what resources would you suggest to myself, whether it be Jimmy down the road listening to this, to kind of say, hey, these are the top 5 things I should do to whether biohack myself and my health and my well-being, and to kind of jumpstart everything just so I can get a head start on getting where they need to be.
All right. Well, sleep, as we mentioned, hydration is going to be number 2. A lot of people, especially people in Europe, I notice that they just drink coffee and tea and think that's hydrating themselves when it actually has a diuretic effect. And they're like, God, I don't know why I have this headache. Why
am I going to the bathroom so much?
yeah, exactly. Why do I have these edemas? Well, you're holding fluid because you got no fluid. So fluid is up there. This could be a little bit of a nuance, but I'd say, you know, eat humane raised, organic, wild caught, grass fed, because there's just so many omega-6s in our diets right now that is, again, pro-inflammatory. But then on top of that, our consumption of antibiotics is more through the food that we eat as opposed to what is prescribed to us. So you think what that is doing.
That's insane.
Yeah, so you think of what that does to our gut microbiome. We're dealing with gut dysbiosis. We're not digesting foods, and the nutrient quality is not there. So we're always hungry. We're like, what else can I eat after dinner? Because there was no nutrients in the food that you ate. So that's why I always say, go for, you know, locally grown or wild caught whenever possible, because like that fish that you get from the supermarket, let's say it's a salmon and it's farmed fish, that is dyed pink. It's not its natural color. That is white. It is dyed that color because it doesn't have any astaxanthin in it or any, you know, it's high omega-3. It's just pro-inflammatory.
I had no idea that it was dyed.
Yeah. So no astaxanthin in it. You know, there's that astaxanthin that gives like the prawns, the fish, or anything that pinkish color. If it's farmed, it's white. It's white. So it's dyed. And if you go to somewhere like, let's say a Costco's, it'll even say on there that it is dyed. It's insane. Yeah, but people consume it, you know. So that's going to be another one. And the other thing is just getting out and getting sunlight. You know, typical bodybuilders, we get up, we go to the gym, we're on the Stairmaster, we're inside, we're exposed to obviously a lot of harsh light with flicker, which raises our cortisol levels. We're not getting out. We're not getting vitamin D. The 2 biggest deficiencies out there right now is magnesium and vitamin D. And vitamin D isn't just a vitamin, it's a hormone as well. It helps with our hormonal regulation. Testosterone levels are dropping at an alarming rate. Get outside, do your cardio outside, get some sun, maybe not in the middle of the day in summer, but, you know, at sunrise, at sunset, get the restorative red rays. That's going to be another thing. That's going to make you feel so much better, because if you're feeling down, you're depressed, you don't have energy, chances are you're not going to work out. You're not going to have the motivation to go out and eat something clean. And this is, you know, I'm not saying this from a sales perspective because I don't own a food prep company, but the majority of my clients, they have issues because they run out of time. They're busy, their families, their businesses are taking up all their time. So when they're really hungry, chances are they're not going to go and eat or create a meal or make a meal. They'll eat something fast, and that fast food puts them back a week, 2 weeks, depending on what it is. So I say go for a food prep company. I don't care if it's more expensive because you are investing in your health, and you can spend that time working or whatever your passion is, where you'll get your ROI in other aspects of your life. Like I use a food prep company. Is it expensive? Shit, yeah. But it saves me so much money in time, because my time is very valuable to me. You know, I don't want to get to like 80, 90 years old and go, man, I really wish I worked more. You know, I want to have more efficiency, and I work hard, I work long, but I work pretty hard so I can do nothing at the end of the day. So I can spend time with my wife, go on a date night or whatever, you know. So food prep company, I'd say, is number 5.
Yeah, there's two things that that really resonated with me. One, I have a few family members that are really trying to lose weight, which is fantastic. And the one thing that I kept hearing was, oh, well, you know, I just, that meal prep stuff is just, it's too expensive. Like, I don't know if I really want to invest in that. And it kind of makes me raise an eyebrow, because at the end of like, if you have kids, it's not really, respectfully, it's not all about you at that point. If you have a child, if you have someone that you're looking after, and you're not willing to invest in your own health so you could be there to provide, to protect, to do whatever you have to do for your family, like, that's where I kind of scratch my head. But that's just a difference of opinion, and whether it's a priority or not, that's that person's prerogative. And I think that gets lost, and especially in today's society, where all we see on TV is negativity, nonsense, whether it's real or not. You know, just I think that gets lost. And what was it? The other one? Oh, another thing I wanted to ask you about was, I used to do a lot of grounding in the morning. And I may be a little bit of a pussy here, but like when it gets really cold outside, I prefer to somehow, I'll just stand on the grass for like maybe like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, even if it's not enough. I'll try and just do a couple steps outside in the front yard. But you're a big supporter of grounding too, right? First thing in the morning.
Constantly. So since I've spoken to you last, I've just made it so much more convenient for myself. Well, number one, my ice bath is grounded. So as soon as I get in there, I'm grounding myself. But I have something called the Biohacking trainers. I'm not sponsored by these guys. They have given me a discount code if anyone's interested, though. I met them when I was speaking at the Health Optimization Summit in London earlier last year. And they have grounding trainers now. So I've even had my clients wear these now. I had a client that just flew to France. Make sure that you wear these trainers, because obviously when we're traveling, we're getting penetrated by X-rays, by gamma rays, by EMFs, by Wi-Fi, everything. So you want that to not just penetrate into you, you want it to earth out of you. So the Biohacking, B-A-H-E trainers really, really help with that. So you're grounding constantly, as long as you're, you know, outside on, you know, not in your house. But like, you know, if you're, you know, going for a run, going for a walk, going down the streets. I don't wear it so much around here. I find I don't have to biohack myself that much when I'm in Boise, you know, on the outskirts of Boise. But like in about 2 weeks' time, I'll be in LA, I'll be in Georgia near Russia, I'll be in Italy, I'll be in India, I'll be in London. I will be wearing them constantly in those places because it's very heavily populated. So that really, really helps. And obviously there's other ways that you can biohack. You can get a biohacking mat. So I'm at my treadmill desk at the moment, but at my desk down there, I've got a mat as well that is plugged into the wall, and that is earthed. So I just find I sleep so much better when I ground myself. I was in Mumbai a couple of months ago, and I was walking barefoot on the beach every morning. And I called my buddy, Tim Gray, who puts on a Health Optimization Summit. I was like, man, I'm having trouble sleeping here. You know, I've got my room kind of biohacked, but I'm in the middle of Mumbai. And he said, are you earthing yourself? I said, yeah, every morning. He said, do it twice a day. Do it at night as well. So I was like, okay. Did it at night, sleep so much better. I was like, wow. Because you're just in a heavily populated place, you just need to push yourself to biohack your environment a little bit more. So, you know, it's invisible. People don't believe it, but, you know, go and check out Earthing, the movie, or read Earthing, the book by Clint Ober, and it'll change your mind.
But I mean, all in all, I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I think everyone that's listening or, you know, watches this will take a thing or two home. But regardless, man, I really do appreciate you taking the time and coming on. And just, that's it, man. Thank you so much for being you and for coming on the show. And that's it, man. Short and sweet. I hope you had a good time. Good conversation.
It's great. Yeah, I'm
And,
not qualified to be anybody else, so I'll keep on being who I am. But thank you, Nick. You're a phenomenal guy. What you do and what you were, some hints that you were telling me before the call is phenomenal. So thank you, brother. You're a great human.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you.
No worries. Peace.
I can't take no loss, yeah. I don't even know what it costs, yeah. I hit the ground and it go off, yeah. Hit the ground and it go off, yeah, yeah. Run it, ooh. I really feel it's my time, think it's my